All right, so folks, welcome tonight to another edition of our Employment Transition Ministry or Employment Question Ministry, where we get together with parishioners from our parish who have just kind of stepped up just to say, I might be able to answer some questions or steer people in the right direction during these very uncertain times during the virus stuff that's going on with all of us. And today we've got with us Larry Bettag. Larry is a parishioner, and he's been a longtime parishioner. I'll get into the specifics in a minute of just kind of what his expertise is. But Larry grew up in St. Charles. He and I went to grade school together at St. Pat's, and we did. And we also went to St. Edward High School. So we've known each other for a very long time, and now I'm back at St. Pat's as pastor, so I'm sort of like his spiritual boss in a sense. Although as a priest, I work for him too. How about that? That's interesting. But
we both have dirt on each other.
That's right. We could tell lots of stories. That might be more entertaining for folks. They'd rather watch that. And so as we're sitting down and we're talking about this. Tonight, maybe Larry, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your expertise, your background a little bit.
So you're right. I think one of the things I just really quickly, thanks for having me on, but I do treasure the whole diverse coming back, and here we are a billion years later, we're connected again. And
how about it?
Yeah, you are my boss. So I'm just grateful, honestly, to have you here. And it just, even outside the priesthood thing, it's nice to be connected with someone you grew up with. So I appreciate that. So married, 5 kids. I moved here when I was a kid, and funny enough, went to St. Pat's at the old downtown and went through, obviously, St. Ed's with you and had a fun time with that, and went on, got a degree at Illinois Benedictine, and went on, got a master's in clinical psych, and then at NIU, I went and got a law degree. So I am not a partner. I'm an attorney over at Griffin Williams in Geneva, but my primary role is that of the vice president nationally of national production for Cherry Creek Mortgage. And so the Midwest headquarters, I got to put anywhere I want to when I open them up. And I said, hey, I'm going to open a mile from my house, and I'm down in Wasco. So married, I always say 5.5 kids, because we took 5 kids and we took custody of a niece the first year we got into our marriage, and had her for 10 years. And here I am connected with you all these years later.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's great seeing your family. I see Tessa in school, and you got kids at Marmion, or your son at Marmion, and you've got a full house right now. They're all home.
They're all, it's crazy. It's all under one roof, and it's good.
Oh gosh, what a people. One of the things that we should be looking for right now is, even though it's a hardship to have all these restrictions placed on us, one of the blessings is if we use this time right, we reconnect with our families in a major, powerful, blessed way, right?
Yeah, I tell people, I won't get into politics, but I will say I hate this shutdown. As you well know, I've voiced my opinion to you a myriad of times, but I will tell you that I tell my kids truthfully, they could be climbing on each other, and they do from time to time, but I do think 5, 10, 30 years down the road, they're going to look back and say, even though that was difficult, that was one of the best times ever with my siblings, to hang out for that long of a time when they're that old in life. And it is a gift in a weird way.
Yeah, it is. It's God's always working something to the good for us. So
yeah,
we gotta look for it. So I love that. I saw some of the stuff on Facebook. Some of the you guys are doing games, and you've got them working, and it's awesome. So
they say about idle hands. So there's no idle
hands. That's true. You said something about a psychology degree. I heard that, and you just were kind of speaking to a psychological dimension. Maybe speak a little bit about what people might be going through right now and how they can handle it.
Yeah, so I will tell you, I had a clinical psych practice for before I got into law school, and truthfully, I hated it. I liked working with teens. I worked with the parents. I didn't like it, but I got to tell you, it turned out to be one of the most beneficial things that I love having a degree. I hate the practice. It's funny because I'm seeing a whole wide range of responses to this, and my boss told me something last week that I'll never forget, and he's told me in times past, which I have forgotten, but I'll never forget it now. But I think life is, they say, 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. And I like to think that I have a high emotional intelligence, and unless it comes to my Packers or Notre Dame, and then it goes out the window. But I will say this extended lockdown has definitely challenged it, and it has not challenged it with my wife, nor has it with my kids. It's more challenged it for me personally. I think, biblically, in Proverbs it says he's a wicked, lazy man who doesn't provide for his family. And so my father has always kind of said, you're not going to be outworked. And I'm not the smartest, I'm not the sharpest crayon on the box, but I do know how to build relationships. I work really hard. I will tell you, I've seen responses. I say there's three types of people that I'm seeing right now. And the first type are people that just look at this really as just, it's a small percentage, but they look at this as an incredible opportunity to deepen their faith, deepen their growth within their family, and actually for financial gain. And then there's a second, which I think is more predominant, which a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines saying, they're atrophying. They're saying, well, we'll get back to work when it's time to get back to work. And then I do think that probably just as significant maybe it's 20% the first, maybe 10%, and 45. But the last one is a whole group of people that are scared to death. And when I say scared to death, I mean scared to death. And Dan, I don't know, or my senior, sorry, I don't know if you've ever been had times in your life that you were ridiculously afraid. But I will tell you, in my own personal life, fear paralyzes. Mm-hmm. And I think freedom. I mean, being involved and having a purpose, it frees you. And I'm seeing that whole range of emotions.
Yeah, and so I think the advice then is whatever you can do, do it. Be productive, be proactive, but don't let that nervousness, that apprehension grow into this paralyzing fear, which doesn't do you or anybody any good. I mean, all the things we worry about, and what at 3 a.m, what can you do about them then? And it's there's, you told me you said something on Facebook. I watched one of your videos, which, if you don't want to sleep at night, watch Larry Bettag on one of his videos. But you said, prepare for the worst, expect the best, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd heard that before, but it came at the right time. So every day I remind myself of that. So what are you doing to prepare right now for any eventuality, whether it's in my own personal life and certainly with the parish?
Yes.
And we're trying to do all this strategic thinking and just, all right, how do we, like even now we're doing all this virtual ministry. Well, we've reached so many people through our virtual ministry who we've never even seen, or and if we stopped it, would never see again. So right now our plan is, all right, we're going to do virtual ministry as we go back to our normal parish life. And our normal parish life is never going to be normal again. It's going to be completely changed. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you just really have to put yourself out there and overcome that fear. Don't get paralyzed, and just like you said, you're keeping your kids busy, right? We got work to do, and that's there's a lot of fruit that comes out of that.
I see these moms, and I'm not ripping into moms. I think they have the hardest job in the world. Yeah. But I think that I see these moms literally that say, "Hey, my kid wants to play Fortnite. I'll just let him." And then what happens is there's this big disconnect, and you're losing right now. I think it's the biggest opportune time to reconnect with your children. Now I can talk about spouse. I've seen a lot recently here about spouse abuse and mental health and suicides. But I will tell you that when these kids leave this time, unless there's another one of these events, I mean, at that point, the band is broken up for good. And so one thing that my wife's done really, really well is she's like, hey, you guys get your studies done. And then you're outside, you're digging, you're mulching, you're painting, you're doing stuff. And then by the time dinner comes around, we'll hang as a family. We'll do one family event afterwards, watch a family home video from when they were young, or play a board game, play charades, or just doing something for connection. And then if they want to go play their stupid Fortnite, they go do that. But I know it's hard to get these kids pulled in. It's hard to lose your kids forever. You know?
Oh yeah. And I think once you get past that initial resistance, because it's such a new behavior for a lot of families, and they start laughing and they start getting involved, and they start having a good time and they start having conversations. It's sort of like kind of feeds on itself.
Yeah, I can't tell you which kid, but every night there's a kid that's like, I'm not going to do that. It's stupid. And then by the end of the thing, they're like, hey, can we do it again tomorrow night? We play volleyball on our knees. We set up a volleyball net in our basement, and we call it toxic volleyball because it was really fun in the beginning when we played on our knees. Now it's cutthroat. There's Olympic medals and there's pro contracts. And if someone gets a bloody nose, it wouldn't probably it wouldn't be out of consideration. But I gotta tell you, we love it. So.
Oh, that makes all the difference. Now, just in terms of your own like expertise with, Cherry Creek or with Griffin, is there any advice you can give to people professionally right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you and I were going to talk today, I had no idea as far as what you wanted me to talk of, because I'm thinking that you might be talking to people that have lost their jobs. But
Some people, yeah.
I think it's probably a part of it. My first thing that I really believe is that first of all, you stick to your routine. So if your routine is always, but I've talked to more people, more professionals that say if your routine is get up and do a Bible study or do whatever, then you go ahead and do that. And so for me, I started this year, I made it my goal that I'm going to go to Mass every morning at 7. And now with the shutdown, obviously, my feelings on this whole shutdown. But you blew it up. I can't go to 7 o'clock Mass anymore. So, but what I do is I do go to the office early and I read my Bible. I have my Bible right here. That's my Bible. And I stick with the same routines. Also, I think financially, I talk to more people that talk about this $1,200 check that came in through the CARES Act. And honestly, we're in Illinois, and I can't believe that $1,200 will take you more than about a week. At least with us, with our 5 kids, they're eating us out of house and home. And so I have this thing where it's all hands on deck. And when I tell my kids all hands on deck, there's 2 reasons for that. One is that I'm teaching them that when tough times come in their lifetime, I call this a generational event.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we had that was probably when my grandparents with the Depression. But this is a generational event right now. And frankly, if they have one more later on when their dads or moms or maybe grandparents, they know what it was like to be all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it teaches them the value of a family. I will tell you, I have people that I know, and everyone probably knows people, but that their spouse has said, give them notice. We're out of here. I'm done. This shutdown, I'm not spending another minute with you. And so for me, I think having a routine and flex within that routine, it is Groundhog Day. And so I have one of my sons here right now, and he's studying in college and for finals. He's taking a final tonight. And every night I said this to him, but I want to make sure that we're adhering to what we do. We have a dinner and we say prayers every night after dinner together before we do our family thing and break up the band. So all hands on deck. And so the second part of all hands on deck too is this. If my kids are of working age, they're going to get a job even outside the house. So I got one working at Home Run and Pizza right now. I have one working at a landscape company. The people that aren't, they're working at, they're babysitting. There's not really needs for babysitting, but here's the reason they're babysitting is because they might go, mom and dad need to get the heck out of the house. And so mom and dad's big date, honestly, is going to Costco. So they're
right.
Yeah. And then my youngest Tessa is putting together flyers right now for dog sitting services and dog walking services. But I just think that it's neat to have everybody on deck, but also financially, I want them to know for the first time ever, I'm sharing with them the amount of money we're spending on food.
Right.
I know I'm either paying in college through their tuition and the room and board, or I'm paying here, but you're burning through cash. And so it's not wrong for me to ask for all hands on deck within the house and outside the house.
Yeah, that's such a great life lesson. I remember growing up, we always had, my parents always tried to make sure that we had a job of some sort outside the house, right? So I
Mhm.
worked at Blue Goose, I packed bags, I worked at Dairy Queen, whatever it was, and it wasn't a ton of hours, but it taught me a lot. And when things were tight, as sometimes they were, with six kids, sometimes they'd say, "All right, symbolically, we want you to help out a little bit," and so those lessons are invaluable. So for you, with your kids to be teaching them that, my gosh, what that is going to again, that is just going to bear so much fruit later on in life. And the lessons my parents taught me on how to get through certain situations, right?
Mhm.
So if you were to give advice to family right now, I'll break it down. Financially, tithing, family prayer, and church. Um, Give me, just a real brief way, financial advice for a family right now.
Well, financial advice, I was going to say when we were going to talk, it's all hands on deck. Everyone contributes
Yeah.
financially to the family.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't need that money, which I don't, unfortunately, but if I did, they would contribute to that. But I am
Mm-hmm.
telling them that they are tithing, and then what they're going to do with that money, they're putting it in the bank for college. Actually, the way they're contributing is it's less contributions that I have later because of what they're earning right now. But
Nice.
all hands on deck. Secondly, when you're not working for somewhere else, as my wife says, we're spending a lot of money on you. You're now working for us. You are doing major jobs in the yard. You're doing major landscape jobs where you're doing things that most people hire out because you're going to have a work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have fun. We're going to pray and have fun. Can we talk about the tithing for a second?
Yeah, please.
So, I'm sure that your finances haven't been hurt at all with everyone being shut down with the church. You haven't seen any kind of change at all?
We have, but St. Pat's is a big operation. It's the biggest parish in the diocese financially. It's got a budget bigger than the chancery,
Mm.
and so we very much depend on our weekly contribution from the folks, and for the most part, because of the like drive-bys, people are very generous there. Because of the online giving, which has been a huge help to us, people are mailing it in. They're putting it under the door, but we're still short. And luckily, because of I don't know which part of the SBA thing but the government is loaning out to small businesses, and the church, after some lobbying by the bishops, is seen as a small business. We got a piece of that, which is going to help us with our payroll, our enormous payroll for 2 months. And so, yeah, but it's definitely affected us, and that's why I say, on one hand, we can't go back to the way we were. On the other hand, we've got to be creative and find new ways of reaching people, and maybe even trust. This is what tithing is all about: is you don't give out of your excess, you give out of your need, out of your want, where it's painful. There's a little bit of sacrifice. Mother Angelica used to say, "You put your tithe between your electric bill and your phone bill," and and so that's what we're doing. We're looking at, okay, how do we not just pay the bills, but how do we kind of put ourselves out there with generosity in an area where maybe we're not sure how we're going to pay that, because that's where the Lord's going to bless you, right? Is that how you think?
Yeah, kind of. I think along those lines, I kind of wanted to, have the priest not have to do the preaching on the fundraising. So, I, I want to help you out here. We
Well,
didn't talk
please do,
about
because I this
we
is
we we
this
did
is
not
all
talk
new.
about this ahead of time, did we?
No.
Yeah. So, let me just say this. I want to rabbit trail for 1 second. Come back here. Do you know who Immaculate Ilibagiza is?
Oh yeah, Immaculate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she had that book Left to Tell and that
Yes.
story. And so, anyways, I won't go through the whole thing, but a friend of mine was telling me about her the other day, and I thought about it. She was like 90 days locked in a bathroom. 90
Right.
days in a bathroom, and I'm complaining. I'm actually whining, and I'm having a hissy fit, as you know, about this lockdown. I can't stand it. And so, if she can do it, it helps me put things in perspective. But here's the deal: anyone who lives in Northern Illinois, honestly, you're sitting in pretty sweet. It's a great area. The Tri Cities, King County. I don't know too many people that are really. I don't know of. I think of a million worse places that we could be at, and we're sitting pretty top off the top. Yeah, I'm telling my kids this on tithing. It's the first 10%, and here's the deal: God can never, ever, ever be outdone in giving. Okay, I know you guys didn't tune in for this, but this is important. I think where there's a want and there's a need, there's a step of faith. And for me, in fact, I just brought it up to you the other day about I have to drop a tithe off, and the only reason I haven't done that is because I'm not in church, and so I get paid really weird. So my it's not, I don't have a weekly or biweekly check. It's just weird. So, but God can't be outdone. And so when I tell my kids this, you guys, okay, you made $2,000 through caddying, we'll say over last 2 months, great. Well, the first 200 is going to God. And I probably got to find a different way to rephrase it, because God's not taxing. It was all His to begin with. Really, what's happening is you're leaving 10% with Him, and you're getting the 90% back. And I think almost the opposite, that when you're not giving the full 10%, we'll say, then maybe you're kind of dipping into God's cut. And He's the one who gave me the 90% to begin with. And so I will tell you truthfully, my wife and I, we went through hard times financially, really, really, really bad financially at one point. And I guess I'm not sure if I should say this publicly, but I'm going to, because I think there's other people that might be going through this. There was literally one time when we were married with 5 kids that we had probably under $200 to our name. Now, we had cars, we had this. People made fun of me because the car that I drove, it had a broken front light, and I never had the money to go fix it. I never whined publicly. I never complained about my lot in life. I'm the one who probably got myself there. But we never wavered from knowing that God was going to get us out of this. And so I was married to God, because here's the bottom line. I can be kind of a pretty selfish kind of guy, and He's got my back 24/7. And when I screw things up, He knew the minute I set foot on this earth, I was going to screw it up. I got a PhD in screwing things up. And but He loves me, and why wouldn't I allow Him to keep the 10%? And so if you're struggling out there, I'm just telling you, it's not a magic wand, but it works. It's a seed. He's investing it. And quite frankly, if nothing else ever happened, to have a message from like you, Monsignor, and your buddies,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're supporting that, and people need hope. We're in a time where really people need hope more than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think tithing kind of reminds us that we've all been in tight spots, and God has always taken care of us. We got through the things we were worried about before. Well, how do we get out of that? Well, He got us out of that. So we're going to do now what we did then, and we're going to be fine. But we got to trust, and that tithing is a great act of recognizing that Jesus is King, and I got to trust Him,
You bet.
because He's always taking care of me. That's the hope, right?
Yeah, I think that I don't cut you off here, but I think I don't know about you, ever rewind in your life, and in your moments of despair, you ever say, "Yeah, I worried here, worried here, worried here," and I'm pretty fat and happy right now, and I think maybe you are too. And so He's got me he's as I told my wife, He's dragged me over every hill that I wanted to bury myself in
right.
through worry. I don't want to do that anymore.
Right. And I think so you look back where you were, and you praise God for taking care of you, and you take that gratitude and you place it right now where you're at, and remind yourself it's going to be okay.
You bet.
And especially when we have a family like this, St. Pat's, unbelievable generosity, and the love that we have for each other. This is one of those great moments. We're going to look back on this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now and say that was one of the best moments for our parish, how we took care of each other. So, and I want to thank you for helping us with that. You're here tonight. You gave us a lot of great stuff.
Well, I was just thinking, marketing. We should probably market a shirt. I survived COVID 2020. Trademark on there. We could raise $1 million for the church.
Hey, there we go.
Thanks for having us. It's great to
be here. Very good. So, brothers and sisters, thanks so much for joining us, for joining Larry Bettag, and just his words, his wisdom, his love for his faith, his love for his church, and we can all benefit from the words he shared with us tonight. So, let's take the first example. Let's trust God, and let's be good to each other. All right. God bless you all. Have a great night.